Green is in. At the recently opened Beijing Horticultural Expo, stories of nature's beauty and bounty right after this break.
Right here.
Welcome back. You're still watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Live green, live better. That's the Beijing Expo's motto and theme for the Horticultural Expo going on here in the city. It's seen throughout displays focusing on sustainable practices. Exploring the expo is like traveling around the world. Earlier, I toured the International Pavilion, one of the event's biggest attractions, bearing in mind the relationship between human beings and Mother Nature. Take a look. Nature does not hurry, yet it accomplishes all. That is believed to be said by Lao Tzu, an ancient Chinese philosopher more than 2,500 years ago. It is illustrating the beautiful relationship between human being and nature. 2,500 years later, at the foot of the Great Wall in China, the International Horticultural Exposition is being held. With more than 100 different countries participating, people from all over the world are trying to gather together and articulate their current understanding of their relationship with the grand nature. Many of them are holding exhibitions inside the International Pavilion, the beautiful architecture right behind me. For example, here I'm in the Germany Pavilion, and I have a friend, Tarik, coming from northwestern part of Germany here, help us to understand better. So what's going on here? It seems a lot of projects at the same time.
Yes, well, this is just one project.
Yeah.
We have an example right here. It's from the west of Germany, from the rural area, and it is about renaturalizing the former industrial area into a green habitat.
So have you ever visited there?
I have been there actually and visited a museum that's also at the site, and I also went down a mine. And over here you can actually take a ride down the elevator into the mine and see what fossils you will find along the way.
And what about this? This is a place I'm always fascinated about.
Yes, that is something that I have to show you. That is a typical cabin for us in Germany.
Yeah.
We have in our so-called Schrebergarten. Those are small gardens we have that are a little outside of the city, and those are for the city people. So the city people don't have enough space in the city to have their own garden.
Yes.
And so this is their chance to have a garden, to plant flowers, to maybe even have their own herbs.
National pavilions like that are scattered around the 503 hectares of land here in the exposition park. Some are rather familiar countries, while other countries remain mysterious. I'm right now standing in front of the DPRK pavilion. The sculpture right behind me certainly is showing the aspiration for peace. Let's go in and check out what's available there. So there's a whole collection of stamps coming from the DPRK, ranging from traditional paintings to the current events. So this is a nice handicraft coming from the DPRK, a traditional story about how young couples got to know each other and have a beautiful life. And certainly this is the Kungang Mountain in the DPRK, Mount Kungang. So when you are at the International Horticultural Exposition, where you have people from more than 100 different countries and regions around you, there could always be beautiful surprises. Well, so tea drinking nation, China is. also becoming a huge market for coffee. I explore the journey of both beverages from the plantation to the cup at the Horticultural Experience Pavilion. Take a closer look at that too. They say it is always up to ourselves to live life to the fullest. But the question is how? With more than 100 countries and regions participating in this year's Horticultural Exposition, you bet there are a lot of conversation and discussions about that topic. Today, we're going to take a journey of drinks, a conversation between coffee and tea, and see what kinds of inspirations can we draw from there.
This Dongpao tea, the king of tea in China. Please smell it. Smell first.
Wonderful. I really wonder, what does tea mean to you?
Inner peace and clear mind.
Has reached its height during the ancient times of the Tang Dynasty in Chinese history. That was also when the classic of tea was born. Since then, tea has become not just a medicine for Chinese lives, but an important drink in the daily life of the Chinese. And of course, when it comes to coffee, it could be a very different story. Compared to tea, coffee, of course, is a latecomer to the Chinese life, but with a lot of curiosity, the Chinese have already embracing the coffee culture. If you look at the exhibit right over here at the Life Experience Pavilion of the International Horticultural Expo, you see different generations of coffee makers. Both coffee and tea have languages of their own. However, when you're sitting here in the beautiful afternoon of the Horticultural Exposition here in Beijing, a natural conversation and dialogue is already taking place between them. Well, with the spring season now in full bloom, it's the best time to visit gardens. Let me take you to a special garden. Not your typical beautiful landscape, but rather a patch of green and flowers rich in life and nature, with all plants coming from the countries that are active on the Belt and Road Initiative. Let's take a look. They say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. However, when you come into this expo, you realize it's not just the narrow meaning of beauty, but rather how we are interacting with nature and what we can do to bring nature closer to us. They say the best example of that is reflected in this garden right behind me, one designed by a British landscape architect who claims himself to be a crazy conductor of an ensemble of plants. Let's check it out. Hey, James.
Hello, it's good
Good
to
to
meet
see
you.
you.
Yes, you too.
Finally, I see the conductor of this crazy ensemble, as you said, in one of the descriptions of your garden.
Indeed, yes. Now my job is to try to make it all behave in an appropriate way.
But tell us exactly what are the ideas behind this. You know, it looks not necessarily like a typical so-called beautiful garden, but rather a very unique one.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I didn't want it to look like a conventional Chinese beautiful garden. What I really wanted to look like, there's two ideas
Yeah.
here.
One is, it's a sort of, in some ways it's a metaphor for the Belt and Road Initiative,
Yeah.
and about ideas moving east and west,
Yeah.
you know. And secondly, it's about, it's a nature garden.
Yes.
So it's to try to produce vegetation that looks like you would get, say, in many ways on a hillside in Beijing,
I
only the
see.
plants come from different places,
Yes.
obviously.
So all of these plants are carefully chosen.
Yeah, they're all chosen because we need to produce a long season of flowering interest all the way
Yeah.
through to October.
So tell us about some of those things and why they are here in your crazy garden.
Well, all the plants here, all the plants in this area here, and then this gravelly area, they're
Yeah.
all plants from very dry sort of habitats.
Like this?
Yeah, this comes from Southern Europe, for example.
Oh, okay.
And this comes from Central Asia.
Of course.
And so, but they're all dry plants.
Yeah.
And they have different heights, so these flower up about here.
Yeah.
And there were bumps, and they're like three different layers. There were bumpy things, there were flat things, there were sticky up things.
Right. So you want these different shapes.
Yeah, I want to have these
Heights?
different sort of lines, essentially, in space. So you have moundy forms, you have things which stick out, and then you have things which are really quite
Yeah.
tall.
And you gather them from different parts of China and also even along the Silk Road.
Along the Silk Road, some of these things go all the way to Europe, and actually a few of them go beyond Europe, I have to
Really?
say.
Very
And
nice.
and some of them, you know, some of the things we've gathered ourselves, you know, for a seed in China with various nurseries, etc. So
Yeah.
some of them we've actually collected as seed from the wild.
Where? Which one?
Well, none of the well, these ones here, these actually come
little
from
things?
these come from Inner Mongolia originally.
What is it called?
It's a delphinium. Has
Okay,
very
we need to
beautiful
learn these names.
beautiful blue flowers. I don't do Chinese common names, unfortunately.
Yeah, and now at the end of the day, they do not look the so-called typical beautiful, but they have their own concepts and logic.
Well, they're not flowering yet, and of course beauty is very much in the eye of the beholder. And
There we go.
one of the ideas behind the garden is to expose Chinese people to some digital experiences.
Yes. Mm.
So
Like what kind of visual experience?
well, I mean, Chinese, you know, one of the things, Chinese people love nature outside the city. But when you come to the city, Chinese planting historically is really not very nature-like. It tends to be much more formalized. And so, you know, we'd like to see whether Chinese people will really be able to value, in an urban context, much more wild-looking vegetation.
Right. And of course, when you look at it, the pattern is a unique one.
Well, there isn't a planting plan for this sort of planting. So what we do is we use random mixes.
Yeah.
And so we have a spacing, and plants are just put randomly, so you'll see how things move across. They sort of like stitch across the space, but they're not in sort of big groups or anything. They are very much in this sort of random order.
So the idea is about you have a sustainable garden in a way, different plants at different time of the year.
Well, the idea really is to capture the rhythms of nature.
I see.
That's
Love
what it's really
the way
about.
You put it.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to a wild place, it's the rhythm, isn't it, which makes it beautiful.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
we're trying to do exactly the same sort of thing in here.
I see. I see. And that is all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more, try to find us World Insight CGTN into your search engine, or check out our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and see the Weibo from me, Tian Wei, and everyone on the World Insight team. Thanks for watching. Tune in again next time for more insights across China and around the world. Good night.